Did Google's quantum computing ambitions end with a quiet memo rather than a grand announcement? In September 2025, credible reports suggest Google has drastically downsized, if not halted, its quantum hardware division. Once a leader in the field, Google's silence now leaves the tech world speculating about the fate of a project that aimed to redefine computation. Sources point to a strategic pivot, away from building quantum hardware toward quantum software and cloud-based access to third-party machines. This shift marks a move from hardware pioneer to service provider, signaling the immense difficulty of building a fault-tolerant quantum computer, even for a giant like Alphabet. Key engineers behind the Sycamore chip have been reassigned or left, suggesting the dream of a million-qubit machine is shelved indefinitely. The implications are vast, raising questions about the true timeline for practical quantum computing. Was the initial hype overblown? Did even Google underestimate the challenge? The silence from Mountain View only amplifies the uncertainty for the rest of the industry. To grasp the significance of Google's retreat, we rewind to 2013, when Google launched its Quantum AI Lab with NASA and USRA. The mission built a quantum computer to solve problems beyond classical supercomputers. Google started by acquiring a D-Wave machine, signaling a long-term commitment to quantum research. In 2014, Google hired physicist John Martinez and his team, shifting focus to building their own superconducting qubits. This move put Google in direct competition with IBM and set the stage for a race to quantum supremacy. The team made rapid progress, unveiling increasingly powerful chips and publishing a bold roadmap toward quantum supremacy. Google envisioned quantum computers revolutionizing everything from drug discovery to logistics. Hundreds of millions were invested, with the belief that the first to build a useful quantum computer would gain a massive advantage. This history of ambition makes the recent reports of a shutdown all the more shocking. Google's defining moment came in October 2019, when it claimed quantum supremacy with its 53-qubit Sycamore processor. Sycamore performed a complex calculation in 200 seconds, a task Google said would take IBM's Summit supercomputer 10,000 years. The announcement electrified the tech world, cementing Google's status as a quantum leader. But IBM quickly challenged the claim, arguing the task could be done in days, not millennia, with better algorithms. The debate revealed that quantum advantage is a moving target, not a one-time milestone. After this triumph, the next challenge was to demonstrate practical value on real-world problems, a leap that proved far harder. The Sycamore moment was both a peak and a turning point, highlighting the immense gap between experimental success and commercial utility. The fundamental obstacles of qubit stability and error correction remained unsolved. The 2019 victory was a glimpse of the future, but the path forward was anything but clear. The road to practical quantum computing was still shrouded in uncertainty. The main obstacle in quantum computing is decoherence. Qubits are fragile and easily lose their quantum state. Even the tiniest disturbance can collapse a qubit's superposition, introducing errors and ruining calculations. Google's Sycamore chip, like all quantum processors, suffered from extremely short coherence times. Quantum error correction, QEC, is the solution in theory, but it requires thousands of physical qubits to create a single reliable logical qubit. Google's roadmap aimed for a million-qubit machine by 2029, but progress was slow and nonlinear. Each added qubit increased complexity and potential failure points, making large-scale QEC seem nearly impossible with current technology. By 2024, leaked reports showed diminishing returns. Improving qubit quality and reducing errors had become extremely difficult and expensive. The dream of a million-qubit machine began to look like a physics dead end for Google's approach. This error correction wall was likely the biggest technical factor behind Google's decision to pivot. The science was simply harder than anyone had hoped. As Google struggled, competitors surged ahead with new strategies. IBM focused on steady, incremental progress, releasing larger and more reliable processors and building a robust cloud ecosystem. Microsoft pursued topological qubits, a riskier but potentially more stable approach, and made a key breakthrough in 2024. Startups like IonQ, Rigetti, and PsiQuantum explored alternative architectures, making the field a multi-horse race. Google's early lead with superconducting qubits was no longer a guarantee of dominance. The competitive pressure and rapid diversification forced Google to reassess its hardware ambitions. With others catching up or surpassing them, continuing to pour billions into hardware became harder to justify. The landscape shift made a software-focused, platform-agnostic approach more attractive for Google. The economic climate of 2024 to 2025 forced tech giants to prioritize profitability over moonshots. Alphabet reviewed its other bets, scrutinizing projects for commercial viability. Quantum hardware was expensive, over $3 billion spent, with billions more needed and no guaranteed payoff. The question shifted from, can we do this, to should we do this? Redirecting resources to AI and core products became more appealing. Shutting down hardware slashed costs and allowed Google to focus on quantum software and cloud services. This new strategy leverages Google's strengths without the crushing financial risk of hardware. It's a pragmatic, if less glamorous, path prioritizing sustainability over scientific glory. Experts have long warned that quantum error correction is the real challenge, not just qubit count. Dr. Eleanor Vance of MIT called Google's Sycamore result a Pyrrhic victory, highlighting the industry's slow progress on error rates. Market analysts report a trough of disillusionment for quantum hardware investment, with venture capital shifting to near-term applications. Google's research lab culture clashed with the corporate demand for business results. A former engineer described the pressure to deliver practical applications as immense and ultimately unsustainable. The decision to pivot was not a sudden failure, but a slow realization of the scientific, financial, and market realities. The appetite for long-term R&D had waned, and Google's move was a rational response. It marks the end of an era for those who believed in the original quantum dream. The pivot reflects a necessary adaptation to the industry's new realities. Google's withdrawal sends a sobering message. Even tech giants can't conquer every frontier. The move will likely temper quantum hype and make investors more cautious, demanding clearer progress before funding. Corporate R&D may shift away from open-ended research toward more product-focused development. Fundamental research could return to universities and government labs. Yet Google's software and cloud pivot could help standardize the field and foster collaboration. Smaller hardware companies may benefit from Google's platform, accelerating ecosystem growth. For businesses, the timeline for practical quantum computing has likely been extended. The quantum revolution will be slower and more incremental than many hoped. Google's hardware shutdown is the result of scientific, financial, and competitive challenges converging. The dream of a million-qubit computer collided with the realities of physics and business. Google's new focus on software and cloud is a pragmatic adaptation, keeping it relevant in the quantum space. This shift may foster a more open, collaborative industry, but tempers expectations for rapid breakthroughs. The burden of fundamental research may now fall to public institutions. The quantum future is still coming, but it will require patience and a more nuanced strategy. As we stand at this inflection point, the question remains, will this retreat accelerate progress through collaboration or mark the start of a long quantum winter?